Hey Natalie,
Hey, Ishaan.
awesome. I guess I've been waiting for a session like this for. I've been waiting to ask you this question actually for a very long time, right? So more than the session, because and I'll give you just some background on why I've been looking to learn more about PLG and then now PLM. And honestly, I heard about PLM first from you, right? So um, yeah, so I'll just like quickly introduce myself and then maybe you, and then we can get right into it,
Yeah,
right?
sounds great.
So I'm Ishaan. I'm the founder of Spear Growth. We're a B2B SaaS marketing agency. We help typically Series A to Series C companies with their ads and SEO, right? And Natalie. So just before like introducing Natalie, so Natalie and I met on this amazing community called Peak, and I think I commented on some post that Natalie had published, and we ended up chatting, and then now we are partners, and Natalie is just amazing to speak with all the time. So yeah, this and now we're here. So hi Natalie, thank you for
Yeah,
joining.
thanks so much for having me, and have to give you more credit than just commented on a post. I was looking for talk to anyone in agencies or just anyone to give some advice, and Ishan was one of the first people to reach out and gave like all of his insights, so knowledgeable on the topic. So thank you so much for first of all doing that and then having me on today. And just for some background, I'm head of growth at Navattic. We're an interactive demo platform. So basically, what that means is if you want to give your prospects hands-on access to your product earlier in the buyer cycle, that's what we do. And we're going to be talking about that topic a lot today. So you'll see that as a recurring theme, and just really excited to talk all things product led with you.
Yeah. I like that you said product led and you didn't end with product led marketing because I think even when you were writing the description of this post, right? Even till that point, I did not know the difference between product led growth and marketing, right? And even with product led growth, these are real conversations I've had with really like CMOs and people heading marketing, because when they say that, hey, we are, for example, doing PLG, right? I asked them, hey, so what do you mean by PLG? And every single time I've got these array of answers. Like someone was like, hey, we just use uh, we are going to use a lot of free trial, or our marketing is going to focus on free trial, so we are PLG, right? And someone I saw another, for example where people were like, hey, we are doing PLG, so we don't need marketing. And I'm just so like confused. I posted yesterday what I think about it, but what do you how would you define first just PLG?
Yeah. So I think you hit on such a great debate that's happening right now because I'm in a lot of like product led groups, and there's constantly a debate of like if just because you have a free trial or freemium doesn't mean you're PLG. In my mind, and what we've sort of been pushing is it's just how do you use your product as one of your main selling and marketing points. Obviously, you want to make sure you're still conveying value. This is not saying let's feature push, but rather in the past when sales led, right? Like it was kind of all of these big concepts and ideas and marketing language that was kind of marketing and selling your product. And it wasn't until maybe the very end of the sales cycle where you finally got to see the thing you're buying. I see PLG as just flipping it on its head. It's like, how is PLG the leading thing that you were selling or marketing to? And how is it throughout your entire cycle? That doesn't mean just marketing. It doesn't mean just free trial. It means at every stage, how are you leading with your product?
This is so different than how I define it. I love this because how I was defining it till literally yesterday is that if product, just by looking at the product, maybe upsells or just something there can drive the highest amount of pipeline, or source the highest amount of pipeline, that's PLG. Then you are in a PLG state. Otherwise, you are in a, I don't know what, like not in a PLG state. That's how I would define it. But
I think one thing that we've always seen is that very linear definition, like you are PLG or you're not. One thing that we're really trying to push with like product led content is it's kind of a scale, right? Like the most PLG company probably ever is Atlassian. Like you can barely talk to a human there if you want to. Like they've done a great job, and everything is their product, everything's product first, and really like there's almost no again human interaction. But just because you're not that level doesn't mean you are or you're not PLG. It's again, how are you making steps towards that? Like, where are you on the scale rather than I am or I'm not?
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I like that. So I first, like, it's been like 5 minutes. My definition has changed, and now there's a scale. So what about product-led marketing then? Right. So, like, isn't that the same thing
So
as what
what
you just
we
explained?
Yeah, I think that's another like common misconception. And honestly, this is a newer term and something that we've sort of been throwing out there. But I think people usually think of PLG at that like conversion point from visitor or user, a website visitor to actually using the product. That's kind of mid funnel. And what we're just pushing is product led marketing is top of funnel, right? Like how again from your ads, from your blogs, from your website, do you show your product first? And again, but still showing value and not being feature focused, but just making from the very beginning, someone interacts with your brand, they're like, oh, I get what your product does.
Right. Um, so just like maybe getting a little more detailed, right? So in the marketing spectrum, right? Would you give some specific examples of just like the marketing aspect? Because I'm still a little unclear, honestly, that what exactly would this be PLM or not, and I'm not even sure. And then maybe we can talk about how does the categorization help,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we just don't
Yeah,
want to be inventing a new term. Yeah.
exactly. I can go ahead and share some examples because I think the best way to understand it is to actually see it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so what you should see here, you see my screen okay?
Yep.
So what you see here is I think Ahrefs got to give them credit. Like they invented product-led marketing, and I don't even think they knew that they were doing it. Basically, if you go to any of their Ahrefs blogs, and Ahrefs is an SEO platform, this is very top of funnel, right? Like this doesn't mention
Yeah.
Ahrefs at all, 14 ways to drive traffic. But when you're in their blog, this is a picture from Ahrefs, and it's not pushy, like it, almost off the bat. It's not
Yeah.
pushy or anything. It's just using these visuals to help you understand and learn this topic. And
Yeah.
they tell you throughout, like, this is how you do it. You could use Ahrefs Keyword Explorer. You could use these different parts of our product, but as you're doing it, like you're learning, you're not feeling like, oh, I feel like they're pushing me to use their product. They're just answering very succinctly and very actionably. This is how you would do
Yeah.
this using our product. Uh, so that I think if anyone's ever wondering product-led content, they're some of the best out there. A few other examples that I wanted to
Just
show.
one thing I want
Yeah.
to jump in for Ahrefs, right? That is so, like, so relevant because I used to be in SEO, right? And there would be a lot of
Mhm.
people who used to ask me that, hey, which software should I use? And when they would go to YouTube and they have an amazing YouTube channel where they teach SEO, and because they're always using their software, it
Mhm.
just, even if a different software could do the same thing, because they're telling you exactly where to click in their software, it just was the default, I think, way to just like, hey, let's just go with this because we already know how to use it, because they have an amazing video.
Exactly. Yeah. I think most SEO professionals, like Ahrefs has just done such a great job at education and also making an amazing product, right? Like part of this is
Yeah.
you do have to have an awesome product if you're going to showcase it a lot.
Yeah.
And they've done that. So it's really easy to understand. It's very clean. So again, while you're reading this blog, you don't feel like, not like, what is this? I don't get it. It just is really obvious what they do and how it can help.
Yeah. Wow.
A few other examples, I'll go through these quickly, but just
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
show another case for blog content. And this is a little more, this isn't exactly top of funnel because this is a new feature introduction. So I think product marketing, product-led marketing, like those kind of align really nicely. But what I love about this example is it really covers that like kind of choose your own adventure, learn how you want to learn. Like, first, obviously they have the actual text that you can read. But then I know they have like GIFs and videos in here. So they have a GIF that you can watch to quickly understand it. And they also have an interactive tour. So if
Yeah.
I'm someone wanting to learn more about Clue's new feature, right? Like I can either read, I can watch GIFs, I can see quotes, or I could do a tour myself and start
Wow.
playing around with the feature, which I just think is awesome, all the different ways, right? I think we are learning these days that SaaS buyers, they want to buy a certain way or they want to learn a certain way. We're kind of sick of being put down one funnel. So I just love how
Yeah.
they've been able to do that.
Yeah.
Another one I'll just show real fast. I think again on the product page kind of idea is I think we're so used to, companies having these product pages, them, having like static screenshots on the pages. And Dooley here, what they've done is done another like interactive demo. And so here, rather than again seeing screenshots that I don't really understand what it does, I can go into here and click around and fully understand what it's like to use Dooley's tool.
I think this was the first example. This is the first time when we spoke, right? When I was checking out Navattic, this was the first thing that it instantly clicked, because some of our customers are in industries where their product is a no-brainer, right? Like the USP of the product, if you really understand it's stupid, or it's almost stupid to not buy it, right? But then no one is searching for it because people don't know something like that exists. It's not like people won't believe you if you show it that it exists, but they don't just know that something like that exists because there's no category. And yeah, so I think something like this would just be so massive, even like for conversion rates, and also just for from an awareness standpoint, that hey, what are you really buying? Like, what's the experience you're buying?
Yeah, I think you hit it exactly on the head. Like people just don't know that these interactive demos are out there. But even if you don't want to do full interactive demo, I think Clue's example was great of like, GIFs, videos, just giving different options or really just letting them see it. Obviously we're a little biased and we say interactive demos might be best, but just start
Yeah.
experimenting this where you can. Like I said, shoot a quick GIF with Giphy. Like that takes no time or effort. And you can start seeing like, okay, is this increasing conversion rates? Should I do more? Just start getting your product out there.
Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, maybe we can go to the next example.
Yeah, I'll just do two more quick ones. So this is company Ramp. They have, first I actually want to go back to their website. What they have here is an explore product button. And so we've seen a few other customers link it out where like instead of, they still have a free trial, and we'll get into this a little bit later about PLG and interactive demos or product-led marketing. Still have a free trial, all that, but you can go in and just hit explore product. And they're using it a little bit more of a lead gen sense, right? I mean, they're only asking for your email. It's not a big form. And we've seen people gate or ungate these. I can type my email, but then I'm instantly dropped into the product. And this is full screen here. But what I really like to highlight about this demo in particular is that it's really quick, few steps. And either, like I said, if you're doing a demo, video, GIF, I really recommend keep it super short at first, hook them in, and then you can go longer. So here, 6 really fast steps, and I understand what they do.
Yeah.
And then they give me the option to, CTA or try more tours. And I think that's vital. We always recommend this. Like, give them a little bit up front, then give them the option, because if they're ready to try it for themselves, they might be sold. Why make them wait for that CTA? And another thing we really like is this checklist that they've used. So if I, for example, like I really only care about an accounting, I'm an accountant. I don't want to have to go through all these steps. I can just jump in and go into the accounting section.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So they're just like segregating the users into different places. Yeah.
Exactly.
I wouldn't want to go into an irrelevant. Yeah. And if it's just not relevant to me, it's just like a waste of my time, even though you've put in so much effort into it and it looks so fun and new. Yeah. This makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are some examples as far as, product-led content that we've seen, some of our top customer examples. But as I said, like I highly recommend, at least for a start, everyone go check out the HRS blog. Like they do it in such a seamless way and really were, I'd say, like the pioneers of this movement.
Yeah. So again, like, I think I'll go back to the question that I asked earlier. What's the so isn't this just good marketing? For example, I'll just like back up a bit. B2B SaaS had always had really, really bad UI. The UI and user experience as well was really bad. So people didn't show it because everyone knows it's bad, and that's what you would expect. And now, suddenly, I think in the last couple of years, you started having products which have a really good experience, and the expectations of the market has changed, right? So I understand why this is happening. So since the market has changed, like how is this categorization helpful? Like the product led, yeah.
Yeah, I think you hit on it where in the past, like, it was kind of you never wanted to show your product, right? Like, maybe the product wasn't the prettiest, maybe it was more complex to set up. So that's when I think like feature and benefit driven language became really trendy for marketing because we knew it would be
Yeah.
helpful, but if we knew we showed you the product, it might scare you away. And there weren't that many competitors, right? Like you just had to convince them why you needed your product. It's not like you had to show like mine's easier, mine's faster, mine's prettier. You just kind of had to
Yeah.
be like, we exist and this is why. In this really hyper competitive market, we know that ease of use is a huge factor when determining for which product you're going to buy. Like, think about it even internally, the products that you would fight for versus the products that you're like, I wouldn't mind if we let those go. Probably has to
Yeah.
do with ease of use and just general like support. So I think now that that's a really hard concept to kind of explain sometimes. Like it's everyone loves to say we're easy to use, but unless you actually see the product, it's kind of hard to justify. So I think that's why there's been a little bit of a shift towards, let's start highlighting our product. Let's put it at the forefront. Like we're proud of it and we want to show it off and really show how it differentiates rather than the past when it's just like, no, showing our product might not be best. Instead, we have to explain the value. I think also buyers get the value of software a lot faster now. Like we're all used to using software. We use it in our everyday lives. I feel like so often I hop on a demo call and I'm like, no, I get it. I get why this is valuable. Like you don't have to sell me on why this is going to increase pipeline or all that. But for me,
Yeah.
it's just, can I justify this at this moment? And if I can't, I still want to see the product because then maybe later down the line, I might be interested or could recommend it to someone.
Yeah. So there is, and just can you just repeat in short, like the difference between PLG and PLM?
Yeah.
Like where do you draw the line? Yeah.
I think it's really just the stage of the funnel. So in my mind, PLM is everything kind of before that website to the website. So again, everything very top of funnel. I see
Yeah.
PLG as everything conversion point on. So conversion to a free trial user, to a freemium user, and then continuing throughout the product lifecycle and adoption. Like product line marketing is almost trying to get you to use the product and experience it. And then PLG is generally when they're using the product, how do you make so they're successful, upselling them, all that.
Yeah. So again, like, so who is this for? Like, I'm sure like not every company should jump on this, right? Like,
Mhm.
even though it just sounds like really good marketing, who is this for and who is this not for?
Yeah, I think there's two ways to look at it. If you are currently PLG, some people would argue like, well, why would I do this? I'm already PLG. We find
Yeah.
that actually 40% of our current customers are PLG. And sort of like that Ramp example that I showed. So Ramp, their expense management. And for
Yeah.
that free trial, you have to enter in like bank account information. Not everyone's super comfortable doing that without seeing the
Yeah.
product first. So if your product, requires a little bit more setup, if it's not instant value, then that's where product-led marketing can help to kind of nurture them a little bit till they feel comfortable putting a little more work into that free trial. We
Yeah.
always say if you're a company like Slack and you could get set up in 2 minutes, like your product probably does it for you. You probably don't need as much product-led marketing. You probably really just show off your product. But a lot of SaaS software these days, it requires setup, importing, integrations to start seeing value. Uh, on the flip side of that, if you're sales led and you have no PLG motion, I know a lot of companies want to go PLG, but don't have the engineering resources. Something
Yeah.
like videos, interactive demos, GIFs, they're all no code. So you could get started with those immediately and start testing it, right? And if you're seeing a lot of success with this product led marketing, maybe then you could have more of a use case to go to your team and say, hey, look, like we're seeing a lot of success. People clearly want to use our product in some way. Maybe we should build something out, or maybe the product led marketing is enough. And that's sort of your version of PLG.
Just like one specific question right here. So a lot of our customers, a lot of people who come to us are sales led, and
Mhm.
they are starting either marketing or they're just starting PLG, or they want to be starting this. So how can they run a pilot? Do you have any examples on like how a sales first company actually ran a pilot, then that can be then showed to maybe the execs, and then they agreed to sort of, or no, not just like what could the pilot look like is what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, I think if you're not super comfortable implementing this on your website or anything like that, what you could
Mhm.
do is just create, again, video, interactive demo, and start sending it in your outbound campaigns or start sending it in your sales cycle. We see a lot of
Yeah.
times people will send this before or after a demo. So before a demo, if you're like, hey, just to get you excited and warmed up, I wanted to give you a quick little like interactive demo of the product, or after the demo, rather than sending them a demo recording that just, you know, ultimately probably they're not going to watch because it's an hour long and no one wants to do that. Send them this, 2-minute interactive demo. And what we found is we've had customers significantly speed up the sales cycle. We had one customer at Xometry who cut their sales cycle in half because they started incorporating these interactive demos. And the second you can say to a sales leader, hey, this cut our sales cycle in half, and don't you notice that the leads that watch this product demo are more qualified than ones that aren't? That's a pretty good use case to maybe start using this on your website or more in your marketing.
Wow. Yeah, I think in just the last live we did, right? We were discussing just the importance of the sales cycle times, and then how marketers just ignore, like a lot of marketers aren't really looking at that. This is like huge, like half is huge. Is there like some other examples of what we can maybe expect, like, or some things that companies have seen while moving to PLG?
Yeah, I think specifically for product-led marketing, I think the quality of leads is really the highest thing we've heard from a lot of our customers. We've had customers say, like Ramp, for example, that we showed before, they get
Yeah.
15% of their leads now from that website demo, and they've said that those are the highest quality leads that their sales team gets. And if you think about it, it's pretty natural, right? Like these people have watched a demo, so there's a level of intent. They've seen your product and said, oh, I like that. And then they're raising their hand to talk to sales versus I know I've jumped on demos just because I'm like, I don't understand what this company does, and I'm just curious. And the second I jump
Yeah.
on the demo, I'm like, this is nothing what I wanted. So you're eliminating those window shoppers, all those people who really just want to poke around and understand what the product does. And instead, you're giving your sales team really high intent leads who are saying, yes, I've seen the product, I get it, it does what I want, and now I want to know the specifics.
Well, I'm just trying to pull up maybe. There was a very interesting question someone asked in the comments. While I'm pulling that up, right? So let's say I want to move to PLG, right? So what's the kind of tech stack would I need, right? Yeah, because I think, and apart from tech stack, so you also mentioned, for example, hey, you may think that you may not have the technical expertise or the technical resources, but then you also mentioned that, hey, no, you can actually do a lot of that with software, right? So apart from tech, maybe first, like, is there anything apart from tech that you would need? And then that what kind of tech stack would you need?
So if you want to go full PLG, right, like you want to implement a free trial or a freemium version or self-service version of your product, that is going to require engineering resources. And we've heard like year to 2 years generally to implement PLG, obviously completely depending on how far along your product is, all that. Like if you're an earlier stage, you can probably move faster. But you're going to need time and also engineering resources, which we all know at a startup, at a SaaS company is like the most valuable thing possible to build out that motion. As far as PLM or testing it with videos or interactive demos, you can build these interactive demos in-house. We've heard of some customers doing it. Generally, we've heard of that taking about 6 months to a year, and again, needing engineering resources. So there is software, obviously Navattic and a few others out there that will automate that process, and it's entirely no code. What I love as a marketer is like, that means that you control these interactive demos. I know in the past, I worked at a PLG company, and we would want to like change a form and we'd have to go through an entire sprint cycle to do so, which would be a month. And we're like, this is my main form of lead gen and I can't change a form for a month. And like, obviously got it. Like product has a million things they're focusing on. My form is not one of their top priorities. But I love about this is as a marketer, you control it. You get to make these demos, make the edits live. You don't have to wait for that. And then if you are wanting to go full PLG motion, I'd also recommend like any sort of data analytics platforms like Mixpanel, Heap, all those, so you can really monitor and see how your users are interacting with your product. I think it's so vital if you're launching a free trial or anything like that to really dive into that data. At my past company, again, we had a free trial and I spent, I think, almost my entire career trying to optimize it, figure it out. And it was till we fully deep dive into the data that we realized like what the friction points really were and what we had to improve with the onboarding process. And ultimately, we ended up deciding to move to an interactive demo because we realized, hey, it requires a lot of setup to see value in this free trial. You had to import their lead list and all that. And so like we just wanted to show them value off the bat.
Yeah. So something very interesting here, right? Just on the free trial bit. So when we get any clients which have a free trial, right? What we typically we almost always have started advising them to do now is at least create this metric, because usually they aren't PLG. We don't have a lot of insights. We are the marketing team. Maybe the product team has insights, or maybe an onboarding team has all that data. So what we ask them to do is, hey, to simplify things, can you create something that we call a fair shot metric, right?
Mhm.
Some set of activity that tells that, hey, this person has given the software a fair shot, which is an indicator of the quality and relevance of the people that we brought in, right? Could be that, hey, maybe someone has signed in twice, maybe they've invited a couple of people, maybe if they've built something out, right? Just some indication of that, hey, this person has given the product a fair shot, and then optimize for that in your ads. If you're
Mhm.
running ads for free trials instead of free trials, that's just something new that, or it's just something that we've been doing for a while actually, but I haven't. Yeah, just that's what we call it internally, like a fair shot metric, because we couldn't come up with a better name, honestly.
I love that definition. I think that's such an important note. If you are trying to go PLG or anything, it's not just about the number of free trial signups you get, because you can get a million people trying your product, but if they don't convert or if they don't see value, then you could be actually hurting your brand. So rather than, that's why I mentioned, like, get one of those analytics platforms, clean up your data internally, make sure it's
Yeah,
visible to your marketing, your product, and your engineering team,
yeah,
because it's so important to figure out, are these users engaged in getting value? Um, I know Andrew Kaplan has a great course on like getting value. So I think he calls them like activation metrics, like how to make sure that if you have a PLG motion and have, a product, that you're getting them to the point where they're seeing value and they're saying, yes, I'm interested, rather than, again, just measuring like, okay, how many people signed up? Because that's really not telling us much.
yeah. That, so I think just to end it, right? There was one question someone asked. Let me just quickly share my screen. So
Mhm.
this was a post by Rohit. One second. Can you see my screen?
Mhm.
Yeah, this was a post by Rohit where he just posted this, right? Like
Mhm.
sales led versus product led, Teams versus Slack. There's some things I like about this, some things I'm not very convinced about. What are your thoughts? Just initial.
I think number one, it's a little fair to, Microsoft, which has a huge user base, to say that that was entirely sales led, when I
Yep.
think a lot of that was, okay, we already use Team, or we already use Microsoft, we already use Teams, now use this chat platform. But two, I think this also speaks to the power of product led sales. And that's why I really say product led is a spectrum. It's not necessarily yes or no.
Yep.
And a really big movement is product led sales, which is you have a free trial, you have something like Slack, but then you have an upsell opportunity, and you have more account managers than necessarily traditional AEs who are identifying those companies who came in through the PLG motion, raised their
Yep.
hand and saying, hey, this would be a great fit. Now let's have our team outbound other members. Now let's have our sales team try to interact with them and upsell them internally. So
Yep.
it really isn't like, I always hate this concept of sales led versus product led. It's like, okay, no, how can I choose both for different points in my go to market motion? And what makes the most sense also for my product? I think that is also really important to stay like, what makes the most sense for your company, and really just the only way to know is kind of experimenting with it.
Yeah. Definitely. So yeah, so I think that maybe I think we've covered everything. I think there aren't any. We've covered all the questions we got as well. Um, just a quick fun question. I know I threw the last one at you as well, the post, but one more. Maybe like what are some books that you would recommend to people to read? Because I think that's something that I'm always looking for, like more books to read. So
Mhm.
yeah, like just one or two that you think that this is a definite.
So I'm going to go one that is more in this category of product led, and one that has nothing to do with product led.
Yeah, yeah.
One, so I will fully admit it's on my reading list, so I haven't got to it yet. But there is a book I recently got recommended called Product Led SEO, which I'm so excited to dive into. I
Yep.
think it's going to really cover a lot of like kind of that Ahrefs example, right? Like using product led throughout your entire marketing funnel. If you don't like it, let me know. I still have to read it, so I apologize. But I was recommended to it by someone I really trust, and it looked like a great, like, as far as, again, like, how do I dip my toes in this product led marketing? Flip side, nothing to do with product led, but I've been in SaaS and for a while now, and one of my favorite books I tell anyone joining SaaS is Uncanny Valley. I think she's just hilarious, and it's
Okay.
a really funny satirical perspective on working in tech. So I always
Oh,
think if you're going to get your hands into it and you want to know kind of all sides, it's just a very entertaining read, as well as a lot of things that like a lot of stories in there is like, wow, I can identify with that.
oh wow. I'd never heard of Uncanny Valley. This is amazing. So I think,
I,
yeah.
I tell anyone joining tech for the first time, read that book. Again, very satirical. It's an interesting perspective on tech, but I think sometimes it's good to get out of our own little bubble of just worshiping tech and get an outsider's perspective.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much for just taking the time to do this. I think I just asked a lot of questions that I can get for myself, so that I wanted to understand myself. So this was really helpful to me. Hopefully, it was helpful to anyone listening. If you want to connect, if you have any questions, maybe you can just like feel free to connect with Natalie on LinkedIn. We'll add the links in the description. uh, yeah, again, thank you so, and we'll also maybe check out if you want to look at one of those demos. I think Navattic also has one on the website, so definitely go there, play around with it. Yeah, just again, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And as Ishaan said, if you want to connect, I'm happy to chat about product-led marketing in general with anyone. I promise it won't just be like use interactive demos. Happy to chat through entire
Yeah,
strategy, what I've seen work, but not work. But yeah, it's great doing this today.
yeah, likewise. Sure. Bye bye.
Bye now.